There is a very strange situation developing in Canada where a state of emergency has been declared because the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has gone into hiding on the back of massive protests there against the vaccine directives that have been issued and curbs that have been imposed during COVID outbreak. Hundreds and thousands of truckers have hit the roads and set up blockades, upsetting Justin Trudeau, who has said this pandemic has sucked for all Canadians. Canadians, however, will not be frustrated with the protests that have paralyzed Ottawa for some days now. Canadians know the way to get through it is continuing to listen to science, continuing to lean on each other. People of Ottawa don't deserve to be harassed in their own neighborhoods. They don't deserve to be confronted with the inherent violence of a swastika flying on a street corner or Confederate flag. He says, viewers, he said, protesters don't have the right to blockade our country, can't blockade our democracy or fellow citizens' daily lives. Hundreds of Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers mobilized to support Ottawa Police. We are there with all resources to get the situation under control. He's even denied fuel and petrol. Anyone who takes fuel and petrol to these truckers will be arrested, as a result of which some people have died, frozen to death, or have taken ill. Diametrically opposite, viewers, the position he took when it came to the Singhu tractor blockade in India. He was waxing eloquent. In India, he said, I would be remiss if I didn't start by recognizing the news coming from India about the protests by farmers. The situation is concerning. We are all very worried about family and friends. We know that's a reality for many of you. Let me remind you, Canada will always be there to defend the rights of peaceful protesters, even though, viewers, he knew that some of those protests had been infiltrated by extremist elements who ran tractors through our city, our capital city, and went and desecrated Red Fort. Viewers, he said, we believe in the process of dialogue. We've reached out through multiple means to the Indian authorities to highlight our concern. There is a moment for all of us to pull together. This is what Mr. Trudeau was saying, waxing lyrically about Indian democracy and how we should deal with our own Kisan tractor protests. And then, of course, you had Greta Thunberg and the great Rihanna, who said, why isn't the world talking about this? That's what they said. Viewers, today Trudeau has realized what it means when a nation is held to ransom by people who are either playing to a gallery or have a misplaced conception of what is right and what is wrong. Viewers, at that time, when Mr. Trudeau was waxing eloquent about how the Indian government should recognize the pain of these Singhu tractor-borne blockade wielding Kisan, the Congress party, viewers, was celebrating. The Congress said and came out and praised Justin Trudeau. Thanks, Mr. Justin Trudeau, for speaking up for farmers, said Alka Lamba of the Congress. Sukhpal Khera said, we welcome support of Justin Trudeau for Kisan agitation. World watching as autocracy has trumped democracy, said Randeep Surjewala of the Congress. Robert Vadra, the great Mr. Vadra, said roar of tractors has gone global and world's watching. Today, Mr. Trudeau has done a U-turn. Will these individuals also now tweet Trudeau and tell him, how dare he do a U-turn? Where is the Congress party today, I want to ask. I want to ask that question. Lokesh Luthra, leader of the Congress. Mr. Trudeau now says these protests are dangerous to his country. You must tell him. You must tell him how bad he has been to peaceful protesters. Mr. Lokesh Luthra, will you tell him? आप बोलेंगे उनको? Trudeau साहब?
This is Lokesh Jindal.
Yeah, Lokesh Jindal.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Lokesh Jindal. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Jindal.
Yes. Yes, first of all, very good evening to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to you, sir.
I would like to begin my point by stating that rather than settling scores with Mr. Trudeau, let us see what form of warning sign is it ringing, what form of warning bell is it ringing for us. Now, when we're talking about the Canadian Constitution, we are sharing a lot of features with our Indian Constitution. There are a lot of socio-cultural contacts.
So if Trudeau expressed concern about how the Indian government was purportedly treating the Kisan, today when he is actually being malicious with respect to truckers, should you not be reminding him of his constitutional duty, sir?
It is the outcome of resentment amongst the masses. It is a resentment amongst the masses for all the policies that had been taking, that had not been providing.
We all know. Lokesh Jindal, we all know. Today you don't have the guts. You don't have the guts to hold the mirror up to Mr. Trudeau. You don't have the guts, and you're saying we are settling scores. No, we are not settling scores. We are only speaking up for our own interests. Does the Congress have a problem speaking up for the interests of this country? No. I hope not. I want to bring in.
There is no food security cover available.
Okay, sir. Let me bring in Shehzad Poonawalla.
It's a deflationary budget.
Mr. Poonawalla, respond.
There are no means
respond to Mr. Jindal.
For a common man.
BJP will respond to the Congress tonight on the show. Fair enough, sir.
That have emerged from the COVID.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But that doesn't preclude the Congress party from reminding Trudeau to do his constitutional duty by protesters who are similarly placed, supposedly, according to you, as the Shingur protesters were. That should be a constitutional duty you should be performing. Nonetheless, let me bring in the BJP. Shehzad Poonawalla wants to respond to Mr. Jindal. Respond.
Yes. Rahul, tonight there is a competition at a global level between Rahul Gandhi and Justin Trudeau as to who can be the bigger poster boy of hypocrisy as far as holding up democratic values and traditions are concerned. Here is Rahul Gandhi, who speaks about democracy across the country and has made his party a democracy-free zone. And then there is Justin Trudeau. Now, Justin Trudeau had a lot to say about a protest that went on for 1 year in India, more than a year in India, led to thousands of crores of economic losses. But today, a 10-day protest in his own backyard has been declared as an emergency, has been called an economic blockade, and he went into hiding for the last 10 days and then suddenly emerged and has now tweeted about how this should come to an end. These are the double standards. Unfortunately for the Congress party at that time, they leaped into using the statements of Justin Trudeau, the same Justin Trudeau and Canadian government, which actually has batted against the interests of Indian farmers at WTO.
Okay, viewers,
Rahul, you remember the kind of stand they have taken against Indian farmers in WTO?
Sir,
of course.
I would like to ask
you see, viewers, those that live in glass houses should not throw stones. It's as simple as that. Justin Trudeau was giving India a lesson in democracy, and the Congress was cheering from the sidelines. Today he's done a volte-face and he's imposed an emergency, and the Congress is silent. Why? I must ask. Why? Has the Congress forgotten its obligations? Or does it actually agree with emergency Raj? Maybe it does. Maybe it still hasn't grown out of the 1970s, as the Prime Minister said today. I don't know, viewers. I find it bizarre. I leave it at that.